I caught my wife in the act, with my best friend. But what happened next will haunt me forever. They thought I didn't know. They were wrong. I gave her a second chance. But she did the unthinkable again. What I uncovered next shattered everything. And the twist? It wasn't just about betrayal. You won't believe how this ends. I was always a pretty straightforward guy. I've been with Natalie for almost 8 years, married for 5. I guess, in a way, I never saw it coming. I thought we had the perfect life. We were both relatively happy, not perfect, but happy. You know the kind of marriage I'm talking about. The one where you argue about stupid things, who forgot to take the trash out, why the dishes never get done, but at the end of the day, we'd both laugh it off and carry on. It was never anything serious, at least, that's what I thought. Everything changed one night. It was a normal evening. We had dinner together. I fell asleep on the couch watching a game, and Natalie went to bed early. But she didn't know I was still awake. I heard her whispering on the phone, her voice muffled, but I could make out a few words. She wasn't talking to me, I could tell. I had no reason to suspect anything. I'd always trusted Natalie, but in that moment, a small seed of doubt was planted. She hung up, and I heard the soft shuffle of her feet as she walked back to bed. The problem? I had never known her to be so secretive before. The next few days were odd. Natalie wasn't herself. More distant. More on edge. It wasn't a dramatic shift, but I could feel the change. She'd leave for errands, but would return hours later than expected. The late-night phone calls became more frequent, and I began to notice the subtle signs of distance between us. One night, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through her phone. It was a gut feeling, like something deep in my chest told me to. And when I saw the messages, my heart sank. There was one name that kept popping up in those texts, Mark. The messages were flirtatious, filled with inside jokes, promises to meet up when I wasn't around. And in that moment, everything came crashing down. The doubts, the insecurities, the feeling I hadn't listened to myself when I should have. I didn't know what to do. Confront her? What would that even look like? I decided to wait. The thought of confronting her, especially without concrete proof, felt too risky. What if I misread things? What if I ruined everything? I wanted to know more. I needed to know more. I couldn't just let this feeling linger. So, I did what anyone in my situation might do. I started digging. But what I didn't expect was that, by the time I was ready to confront her, I'd find myself asking, could I ever forgive her? A week passed after I found the messages. I didn't confront Natalie. I walked around the apartment pretending everything was fine, but inside, I was a wreck. She seemed oblivious, like she had no idea that I knew. I couldn't sleep. I could barely eat. The thought of her with him, Mark, ate at me. I didn't know what to do. Confront her? What would that even look like? I couldn't bear the thought of being wrong, or of making a mess without having enough proof. Then, one night, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know. I followed her when she left for a late-night meeting. She went to a cafe and met him there. They sat together, laughing, touching, everything that looked way beyond friendship. That was it. I couldn't stay silent. I needed answers. The night of the confrontation came. Natalie had stayed late at work, and I knew she'd be home at 8 p.m. I sat at the kitchen table, trying to calm my racing thoughts. When the door opened, I stood up. She entered, her usual greeting hanging in the air, but it was obvious something was off. Can we talk? I asked. Sure, she said, confused. I didn't waste any time. Why have you been acting so distant? I said. Why the late-night calls? Why were you meeting Mark? Her face went pale. She didn't say anything at first. I pulled out my phone, showing her the messages. I know, Natalie. Don't lie. She stared at me, eyes wide. Then she sighed and looked away. I'm sorry, she whispered. It's been a few months. A sick feeling gripped my stomach. How long has this been going on? Since January, she admitted, her voice shaky. I felt like the world was crumbling beneath me. You've been seeing him behind my back, and now you expect me to just act like nothing happened? I didn't mean for it to happen, I swear, she pleaded. I shook my head, too hurt to respond. I wanted to yell, to throw things, but I didn't. Instead, I just sat there, broken, lost in what felt like a nightmare. I can't just walk away from this, I said finally. But if you want my forgiveness, you need to prove you're truly sorry. She nodded, her eyes full of regret. I will. I'll do anything. For a moment, I thought maybe we could fix this. Maybe forgiveness was possible. But deep down, I knew the road ahead would never be the same. For the next few weeks, things seemed to settle into an uneasy calm. Natalie was apologetic, constantly telling me how sorry she was, how much she regretted what had happened. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think that our marriage, the life we built together, could be salvaged. We went to therapy. She swore up and down that it was a mistake, that she hadn't meant for it to happen, that I was the only one she wanted. I found myself wanting to believe all of it, because if I didn't, what was left? I thought maybe she just needed time to prove it, to show me that she was serious about fixing things. And for a while, it worked. There were moments where it felt like things were getting back to normal, late-night talks, laughter, the kind of intimacy we had before everything shattered. But there was always something off, like a crack in the foundation that I couldn't fix. The lingering doubt. I started to push it all aside, telling myself that forgiveness meant moving forward, not living in the past. I couldn't keep replaying her betrayal over and over in my head. Then, one night, about a month later, I came home early from work. I had decided to surprise her. As I walked through the door, I heard voices, hers and someone else's. My heart skipped a beat. I froze. At first, I thought it was nothing. Maybe a friend came by, or someone from work. But as I walked toward the living room, the unmistakable sound of laughter stopped me in my tracks. And then, I heard it. Her voice, the one I knew so well. The voice that had once whispered sweet things to me, now saying something that made my blood run cold. "I can't stop thinking about you," she said. The words hit me like a slap across the face. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I stood frozen, a million thoughts racing through my mind. This couldn't be happening again. I thought we had moved past this. But I was wrong. I backed away, my heart pounding in my chest. I needed to leave. I needed space to think. The anger started bubbling up again, but this time, it was mixed with disbelief. How could she? After everything we had been through, after I forgave her, how could she betray me again? I didn't know how long I stood there, in the hallway, paralyzed. The words still echoed in my mind. "I can't stop thinking about you." I couldn't move. It was like the floor beneath me had vanished. I knew in that instant what was happening, even though I didn't want to admit it to myself. My first instinct was to storm in there, confront them both, demand answers. But a deeper part of me, the part that was still clinging to the hope that things could go back to normal, held me back. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready to shatter the fragile peace we had built. I turned around quietly, as if retreating back into the darkness of the apartment would somehow protect me from the reality I had just stumbled upon. But the anger, the confusion, it all mixed together, and I couldn't just leave. I had to know. I went to the kitchen, grabbed my coat, and walked out the door. I needed space. I needed to think. I drove aimlessly for hours, each mile feeling like it was stretching into infinity. How had I been so stupid? I let myself believe her apologies. I let myself believe that we could somehow move forward, despite everything. When I came back later that night, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. It felt like a heavy, suffocating silence that pressed down on my chest. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but I couldn't just sleep. I couldn't pretend it wasn't happening again. I sat at the kitchen table, the dim light from the lamp casting long shadows across the room. My mind raced as I tried to process what I had just witnessed. Natalie had promised me she'd cut him off, that she'd end it. But here she was, speaking to him like it was nothing. A part of me wanted to confront her immediately, but I couldn't. Something inside me told me that it wasn't just the affair I needed to deal with now. It was the lies, the complete disregard for the trust one had so desperately tried to rebuild. And then, a message popped up on my phone. It was from her. "I'm sorry, I love you. Please, don't leave me." I felt sick. She had no idea that I knew. She thought I had forgiven her, that I had let it go. But I hadn't. I didn't respond to her message. I couldn't. The anger inside me was a storm I couldn't control. Instead, I just stared at the screen, numb. I wanted to throw my phone against the wall, but I didn't. I put it down gently, as if doing so would somehow give me control over my emotions. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept tossing and turning, replaying the conversation I'd overheard. The intimacy in their words, the easy comfort they shared, it made me feel like a stranger in my own life. The worst part? It wasn't just the affair anymore. It was the fact that she didn't even care enough to hide it from me, even after everything we'd been through. By the time morning came, I was exhausted but determined. I couldn't go on like this. I had to confront her. But this time, it would be different. I wasn't going to beg for her to change. I wasn't going to give her another chance to tear my heart apart. This time, I would stand my ground. When she woke up, I could tell something was off. She had that look on her face, the same one from before, when she knew I was upset but didn't know why. I didn't wait for her to start the conversation. I just walked over to her and said it plainly. I know, Natalie. I know you're still seeing him. She froze, her hand trembling as she poured coffee. For a moment, she didn't say anything. And then, like a dam breaking, the excuses came flooding out. I didn't mean for it to happen again, she said, her voice shaking. I was confused, and I didn't know how to fix what we had. You weren't there for me, and I didn't let her finish. Don't make this my fault. Don't you dare try to shift the blame onto me. You've been seeing him behind my back again. I gave you a second chance, and you threw it away. Her eyes filled with tears, but it didn't matter. I couldn't be fooled again. I'm done, I said, my voice steady, though my insides were in chaos. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep living in this lie. She reached for me, but I stepped back. I trusted you. I wanted to believe in us. But you shattered that trust again. I can't stay in a marriage where I'm not enough, where I'm just a backup to someone else. Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I felt no pity. I had nothing left to give. I'm leaving, I said quietly, the finality of the words ringing in my ears. It's over. As I turned to leave, she collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. But I didn't look back. I couldn't. I thought leaving would be the hardest part. But it wasn't. As I walked out the door, the weight of everything hit me all at once. I had been betrayed, not just by her, but by the person I thought I could trust the most. I walked down the hallway, each step echoing in my mind, each footfall louder than the last. I didn't go far. I just needed a place to breathe. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the road, watching the world pass by. I could feel the anger, the pain, but what surprised me most was the sense of relief. It wasn't the feeling I thought I'd have after confronting Natalie. I had expected to feel heartbroken, destroyed, even angry, but all I felt was free. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to explain myself. But eventually, I called a friend, Mike. He'd been there for me in the past, and I needed someone to vent to. Hey, man, what's going on? He asked, his voice calm. It's over, Mike. She did it again, I said, my voice hollow. I'm sorry, man, he replied, and I could hear the sympathy in his tone. But you can't let her keep doing this to you. I know, I said. But it's not just that. There's something's off. I don't know how to explain it, but I think I need to know more. I need answers. Mike was quiet for a moment. What do you mean? It's like I'm missing something bigger. I don't just want to know about her and Mark. I need to understand why this happened. I need to know what she's been hiding. Man, you're better off without her. Let it go, Mike said. But I couldn't. Not yet. I spent the next couple of days trying to process everything. I reached out to a few people who might know more, her close friends, anyone who could shed some light on her behavior, anything that could explain why she'd do this to me again. That's when I heard something that made my stomach drop. One of her friends, someone who I never thought would betray her, told me that there was another guy. Not Mark. Someone else. I felt a wave of disbelief crash over me. Not just one affair. Two. My mind reeled. Was I ever really enough for her? Or was I just a placeholder? The revelation hit me harder than anything before. Not one affair, but two. I had already been struggling to accept the first betrayal, trying to make sense of it, trying to rationalize it away. But this was different. I couldn't believe it. For days, I walked around in a fog, numb and disconnected. I hadn't even confronted Natalie yet about the second affair. It felt like I was holding my breath, waiting for the right moment, but every time I thought about speaking to her, a wave of rage and disappointment overtook me. I couldn't go on like this. Not anymore. I had to know the truth. All of it. I reached out to one of her closest friends, Rachel, someone I had trusted over the years. If anyone knew what was really going on, it would be her. Rachel hesitated when I first called. I'm not sure I should be the one to tell you this, she said. But I've known for a while. Her words sent chills through me. She knew. She'd known all along. Tell me everything. I demanded, my voice shaking. After a long silence, Rachel spoke. It's not just Mark. There's someone else. His name is David. She's been seeing him for almost as long as she's been seeing Mark. I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How long has this been going on? I asked, barely able to breathe. Since January, Rachel said softly. She's been hiding it. I know you think it was just a mistake with Mark, but it wasn't. It's a pattern. She's been lying to you. She's been lying to everyone. I sank back into the chair, my thoughts spiraling. A second affair, and I had been blind to it all this time. She had managed to fool me again, to make me believe her tears, her promises. And all the while, she was seeing someone else behind my back. I don't know what to do anymore, I whispered, more to myself than to Rachel. You deserve better, she said firmly. I don't know how you can forgive her again. I didn't know either, but I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. Every conversation, every new piece of information, felt like it was ripping apart the life I thought I knew. 2 affairs, not just one. I thought I'd seen the worst, but this was a whole new level of betrayal. And the worst part? I still loved her. I knew I couldn't stay in this limbo forever. I had to face her. The lies, the secrets, it all needed to come to light, even if I wasn't sure I was ready for what that might do to me. The next evening, after hours of pacing, I decided it was time. I would confront her again. I didn't want to hear more excuses. I didn't want to hear her tell me how sorry she was. I didn't want another half-hearted apology. I needed the truth, the whole truth. Natalie was already home when I walked in, and there was an odd calmness in the air, like she knew something was coming. She didn't ask about my day or try to engage in the usual small talk. It was as if she was bracing herself for impact. I didn't waste time. I know about David, I said, my voice cold. Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second before she masked it with a look of guilt. I'm sorry, she whispered, looking down at the floor. I never wanted you to find out like this. I stared at her. You never wanted me to find out? How about you never wanted to cheat on me in the first place? How about you never wanted to betray me? She flinched, but I didn't care. I gave you a second chance, Natalie. I trusted you. And you went behind my back again, with not just one man but 2. I was lost, okay, she pleaded, her voice breaking. I didn't know what I was doing. I was confused. I didn't mean for this to happen. But it did happen, I said, my words sharp as knives. And now, I don't know who you are anymore. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. She stepped closer, reaching for my hand, but I pulled away. Don't touch me, I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. I was done. I had no more strength to fight for us. Not anymore. I can't keep doing this, Natalie. You've hurt me more than I ever thought possible. I don't even know who I'm fighting for anymore, but it's not you. I could see the tears in her eyes, but I wasn't moved. This wasn't about her tears or her regret. It was about me and the man I had lost while trying to hold on to something that was never going to be fixed. I think it's time we finally end this, I said, my voice steady but broken. She didn't fight me. Instead, she just nodded, her tears falling silently as I turned and walked out the door. It wasn't supposed to feel like this. I thought I would feel relief. I thought that by finally walking away, by confronting her, I would find peace. But the truth is, I felt nothing but emptiness. It's like I had ripped a huge part of myself out and left it behind. The apartment felt cold without her. I had been living in that space for years, and suddenly, it felt like I didn't belong there. I wasn't sure where I should go or what I should do next. My phone sat on the counter, buzzing every few minutes with her messages. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please talk to me. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The words no longer held weight. The promises, the apologies, it was all just noise at this point. I spent the next few days trying to keep busy, drowning myself in work, avoiding the mess of emotions swirling in my head. But nothing could numb the pain. I kept thinking about the good times, the way we laughed together, the future we planned. And yet, none of that mattered anymore. All I could see was her face, her tears, and the lies she had told. It wasn't until I got a call from Mike, a few days later, that I snapped out of my daze. Hey, man, he said, his tone serious. I know you're going through a lot right now, but there's something you need to hear. What is it? I asked, my voice hollow. It's about Natalie, about the other guy. I think you should know something. My heart dropped. Another guy? Was there more I didn't know? Her affair. It's been with someone you know, Mike said, carefully. It's not just some random person. It's someone close to you. I couldn't process the words at first. My mind raced, trying to figure out who it could be. Who could it possibly be? And then it hit me. David. David wasn't some random guy. He was someone I had known for years, an old friend of mine, someone I had trusted, someone I had invited into my home, someone I had shared laughs and drinks with. I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. I felt like I was going to explode. The betrayal ran deeper than I could ever have imagined. I'm sorry, man. Mike's voice came through, sounding almost distant. I had to tell you. I think you deserve to know. I ended the call, not knowing what to do with this new information. My mind was reeling. How could she? How could she betray me like this, with someone I had called a friend? The air felt thick and suffocating. I couldn't shake the image of David's face, the memories of the countless times I had laughed with him, shared beers, and talked about life like everything was normal. And now, to learn that he had been sleeping with my wife, the woman I thought I could trust more than anyone in the world, left me feeling like I was losing my mind. I sat in my apartment, staring blankly at the walls. This wasn't just about a failed marriage anymore. It was about the crushing weight of betrayal from two people I thought I knew better than anyone. Natalie, my wife, and David, my so-called friend. I couldn't process it. Every time I tried to think of something else, the images, the words, the shock kept crashing over me, and I felt like I was drowning in my own disbelief. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Natalie. Please talk to me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I should have ignored it. I should have deleted it. But I didn't. I opened the message, reading her words with a cold detachment that surprised me. I love you. I swear I made a mistake. Please, don't let this end. The pain was suffocating, but I couldn't let myself fall for it again. I had already given her a second chance. I had already tried to rebuild what we had, and she had destroyed it. Twice. I couldn't help it. I responded. You destroyed everything, Natalie. With David? That's the lowest thing you could have done. I trusted him, trusted you both, and now I have nothing left. She replied almost immediately. David didn't mean anything. He's not important. You are. I love you. I've always loved you. Please, I'll do anything. Please don't leave me. The desperation in her words almost made me hesitate, but then I thought about everything. The lies, the gaslighting, the emotional manipulation. And I realized something. This wasn't love. This was control. She didn't love me. She loved the idea of me being there when she needed me, of having someone to fall back on. But love isn't a safety net. It's not something you treat like an option. I didn't reply. I couldn't. It felt like the final piece of the puzzle had clicked into place. I wasn't the one who had changed. It was her. She had changed, and I was no longer a part of the life she wanted. It was over. But something inside me stirred, something darker. I had been betrayed by the two people I trusted the most, and part of me wanted to make them both pay. Not just for me, but for the way they had wrecked everything. It hit me like a punch to the gut. David, my friend, had crossed the line. I never imagined he'd betray me like this. He'd been someone I trusted, someone I shared a laugh with, someone I thought had my back. Now he was the one who'd been with my wife, behind my back, for months. It was hard to process the sheer scale of the betrayal. I needed to confront him. I couldn't sit with this anger any longer. So I called him. David, we need to talk. Right now. I said, my voice tight with rage. There was a pause on the other end. Okay, I'll be at the bar in an hour, he said, but I didn't let him off that easy. No, you'll meet me at my place. Now. He hesitated, but agreed. When he arrived, I could see it in his face, guilt, shame. He knew exactly why I'd called. I didn't give him the chance to speak before I let it out. You had an affair with my wife. You betrayed me. I said, my voice cold. What was it? A cheap thrill? Or were you just too lazy to find someone else? David's face drained of color. I never meant for this to happen. I'm so sorry. It just happened. I wasn't thinking. Does that make it okay? I shot back, my anger flaring. Does not thinking make this any less of a betrayal? I never wanted to hurt you, he said, his voice cracking. I'm sorry. I couldn't hold back the bitterness. You chose to hurt me. You knew what you were doing. You knew how much I trusted you. He looked down, unable to meet my eyes. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I took a breath, trying to control my emotions, but I could feel the weight of everything crashing down. I trusted you, David. I let you into my life. You were my friend. David swallowed hard, his voice barely audible. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Please, don't hate me. I stared at him, a cold finality settling in. It's too late for that. You were my friend, and now. You're nothing. He stood there, silent, unable to defend himself. I didn't feel satisfaction in this confrontation, just emptiness. The moment I closed the door behind David, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I had confronted the man who betrayed me, but the bitterness didn't vanish. If anything, it only grew. I thought that once I had the truth, once I had said everything I needed to say, it would be easier. But it wasn't. I could still hear his voice, the apology he barely meant, echoing in my head. And now, I had to face the fact that two of the people I trusted most had wrecked my life in ways I didn't even know were possible. David, who I considered a brother, and Natalie, the woman I married, both had destroyed everything I held dear. The days dragged on, and I barely left my apartment. I couldn't. Every time I thought about what had happened, I felt a cold knot twist in my chest. I kept telling myself I'd made the right decision, that walking away was the only choice, but my mind couldn't let go of the memories, the good ones, the ones that had once felt like they defined me. One night, after a long silence, I got a message from Natalie. "I'm so sorry. I love you. Please, let's fix this." I didn't reply. I couldn't. The words felt hollow. How could I even consider going back after everything that had happened? But then, a strange thought crept into my mind. Had I made the wrong choice? Was I being too harsh? Could I really just throw away everything we had? The confusion set in. I wasn't sure anymore. I had always believed in second chances, in forgiveness. But forgiveness didn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It didn't mean accepting the broken pieces and hoping they would magically fit back together. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. The man looking back at me was someone I barely recognized. How had I allowed myself to be so naive? How had I ignored the signs? And then it hit me. I wasn't just hurting because of what they did. I was hurting because I had let myself get lost in their lies. The weeks that followed felt like an endless fog. I buried myself in work, avoided friends, and spent my nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd made the right call. But with every passing day, the ache of what I had lost grew heavier. I wasn't just mourning my marriage. I was mourning the person I thought I was, the person who believed in love, in trust, and in second chances. One night, as I was heading out to grab dinner, I ran into someone who caught me completely off guard. It was Natalie. She stood there, looking vulnerable, her eyes red from what I assumed were tears. She had the kind of look that made me want to pull her into my arms, to tell her that everything could be okay. "I don't know why I'm here," she said, her voice shaky. I need you to know how sorry I am. I've messed up so badly." I stood there, my heart torn. I didn't want to listen to her, didn't want to hear her apologies. I didn't want to hear how she was lost or confused. But there was something about the way she looked at me, the desperation, the rawness, that broke through the walls I had built around myself. "I love you," she continued, her words hanging in the air. "I always have. I made a huge mistake, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you. Please, just give me another chance." I wanted to turn away. I wanted to tell her that it was over. But somewhere deep down, I still loved her. The thought of going through life without her, without the woman I thought was my soulmate, was a thought I wasn't sure I could bear. I took a step back, feeling the weight of her words pressing against me. "I don't know if I can trust you again, Natalie. You broke me. Twice." "I understand," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But I swear I've learned. I swear I'll do anything to fix this. I know I don't deserve you, but please, don't give up on us." The temptation to take her back was overwhelming. The part of me that still wanted to believe in the future we'd planned, the family we could have had, it was so strong. But then I remembered everything. The lies, the deceit. I wasn't just forgiving her. I was forgiving myself for allowing all of this to happen. I turned away. "I can't do this. Not anymore." Her face fell, but I didn't look back. I couldn't. I had already given too much. I thought walking away from Natalie that night would feel like a weight lifted off my shoulders. But it didn't. In fact, it felt heavier than ever. The emptiness I'd been avoiding was finally catching up to me. I couldn't escape it, no matter how hard I tried. The hurt, the anger, the regret, it was all gnawing at me, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could carry it. The following days were filled with quiet moments of reflection. I went through the motions of my daily life. Work, errands, trying to distract myself, but nothing worked. I was suffocating in my own thoughts. What was I really afraid of? Was it losing her? Or was it losing the version of myself that had believed love was enough? I found myself revisiting everything I had told myself during the worst of it, the reasons I should walk away, the promises I made to myself to never let someone treat me this way again. But as much as I tried to stick to that, something in me kept holding on to hope. Was I being foolish? Was I just so desperate to believe in something, anything, that I was willing to ignore the red flags? I needed clarity. I needed to stop running from this pain and face it head on. A week later, after a sleepless night, I found myself back at the bar where I had first confronted David. The same bar where he had apologized, where we had once shared laughs. The same place that had now become a symbol of everything that was wrong in my life. But I needed to be there, to think, to feel, to finally let everything sink in. As I sat at the bar nursing a drink, I stared into the glass, thinking about everything I had sacrificed. My marriage, my friendship with David, my self-respect. And I realized something. I wasn't just hurt because of what they did to me. I was hurt because I had allowed myself to believe that love and loyalty were enough. I had given them both everything, and in return, I'd been left with nothing. For the first time in weeks, I felt clear-headed. I wasn't holding on to hope anymore. I wasn't pretending things could go back to what they were. I had been living for the version of us I had wanted, not the one that had existed. And in that clarity, I knew one thing for sure. I had to let go. For good. I woke up the next morning, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. The weight of the past months, the anger, the betrayal, the confusion, didn't feel as suffocating. I wasn't free of it completely, but I had made peace with the fact that I couldn't change the past. What mattered now was what I chose to do with the future. I hadn't heard from Natalie in a few days. The silence between us felt final, like a door slowly closing. There were no more desperate pleas, no more messages trying to win me back. And as much as I wanted to hear from her, wanted to know if there was a possibility of redemption, I realized that silence was my own form of closure. It was my way of letting go. I picked up the phone and called Mike. I hadn't talked to him much since everything blew up, but I needed someone to talk to. "Hey man," he answered, his voice warm. "How's it going?" "I think I'm finally starting to get it," I said. "I'm starting to let go. I don't know if it's for good, but I think I'm okay with it now." Mike paused for a moment, then chuckled softly. "I'm proud of you, man. You don't need to keep holding on to a past that's never coming back. You deserve better than this." I smiled, feeling the truth of his words settle in. He was right. I had spent so long hoping that things would change, that the past could somehow be fixed, but it couldn't. People don't change because you want them to. They change when they want to. And Natalie had already shown me who she was. As I hung up the phone, I sat there for a moment, just thinking. There was no grand epiphany, no sudden revelation that tied everything together. But there was a peace, a quiet acceptance, that had been absent for so long. I had tried to rebuild something that was never meant to be fixed. Now, I could finally build something new. I walked outside and felt the cool air hit my face. It wasn't just the start of a new day, it was the start of a new chapter in my life. A chapter without her. A chapter without David. A chapter where I could finally be myself again. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt hopeful.